I love dragons in death, 'cause they are fun.
Okay, I'm Tory Torrential. This is Tory Survives Game of Thrones, a blind reading and comedic abridgment of the Song of Ice and Fire book series. Currently, we are on chapter 17, and that is Bran 3. And it's important to note, Bran has been in a coma after being yeeted out a window by Jaime Lannister and has spent the last several chapters completely unresponsive in a bed. So he's been wasting away. It opens, they've been feeding him water and honey to keep him from starving. And I'm not sure if it's hallucinogenic honey or what, but this chapter is trippy. Okay, so we open with Bran surrounded by gray mist. And I'm not sure if gray mist means death or the afterlife, but a lot of the time when someone's like near in the book so far, this gray mist shows up. So I think it might be like symbolic, but who knows? And he's falling. He can sense that he's falling from a great height. All this mist is going around him. And then he hears this little voice, and the little voice just says, "Fly." And Bran has no idea what's going on. He's just falling through the air, and he's noticing the earth is coming up at him slowly. Like he's thousands of miles away, but it's coming. Like he's going down to the ground, right? Now, he hears the fly, and he's like, I can't, But in his head, like, he thinks, like, okay, I'm dreaming, I'm gonna wake up before I hit the ground. And there's a crow, and it starts flittering around him, And the crow again, he's like, you gotta fly. And he's like, I can't, I don't have wings. And the crow says, there's more than one type of wings, because while they're talking, he's like, are you a real crow? And he's like, are you really falling? So he's kind of very caterpillar-esque, like Alice in Wonderland's kind of. And he's trying to lead Bran. My assumption is like he's kind of a spirit guide, but Bran is 7. So he's like basically trying to enlighten Bran. And Bran is just being 7 years old. So he's like, okay, different tact. He's like, hey, you gotta in corn, which is actually really smart of the crow, because, when Bran got yeeted and hit the ground, went into the coma, he was going to feed the crows some corn. So, Bran checks his pocket, which his last mental image of himself would have had corn in his pocket, and he pulls out some corn, and that's when he does, are you a real crow? And he's like, are you really falling? And he's eating the corn out of his hand, and Bran is like, help me, because he's falling. And the crow is like, I'm trying, and that's more or less not doing anything. I think like the crow's trying to coax him, like, you can affect the world, like, look, you have corn, And then Bran starts thinking, and he's like, he's like, well, it's a dream. And the crow's like, is it? And he's like, I'll wake up before I hit the ground. Or no, if I hit the ground, I'll wake up. And the crow's like, if you hit the ground, you will die, So and he's like, feels like crying, and he's like, don't cry, fly, And right then ish, something comes out of the mist, and I think I missed one, but like he keeps getting glimpses from his past memories, and this golden face comes out, and it's like, the things I do for love, which we know is Jaime Lannister, and he starts screaming. Bran starts screaming, and the crow's like, nope, we're not doing this right now. And he's like, you don't need that, put it away. And he lands on his face and starts pecking at him a little bit, and it disappears, and that's when Bran's like, help me, and the crow's like, I'm trying. And after that, he's like, just look down, and Bran's like, no, I'm scared. And he's like, just do it, just look down, And that's when Bran starts looking down, and he's noticing like this ground is getting closer, But right now he has kind of like a super high kind of eagle's eye view of everything. And when he looks down, he forgets to be scared, because he sees Winterfell, and it looks like kind of like a little model, and just lines in the dirt where like the walls were, and all the towers look squat and stuff. And I think he sees more than is described in the book, but Bran only knows so many people, so that's the only people he recognized. But he sees Maester Luwin, using his telescope and frowning. He sees like Robb out there, and he's practicing, and Robb's using a real steel sword. And he sees like Hodor, and see, I thought Hodor was a little guy, but I guess he's giant, because he's carrying an anvil over to the forge, and it's like nothing, like he's just carrying it like it's hay. So I guess like Hodor is like a big boy, because I was picturing him like Hodor, and no, he's like Hodor. So anyway, and then it skips kind of down, and I think they call it the Quick, but the name might be wrong. And he sees a galley going, just burning through, and he sees his mom, Catelyn, inside the thing. So I guess he can see inside the ship, but she's inside the ship, and she's sitting in front of a table, and there's a bloody dagger in front of her. So apparently stuff's not going too smooth for Catelyn. And Roderick is actually like puking over the side, and I think I got that out of order. But he also sees like over in the trident, like it sees the green of the trident and stuff. He sees his dad Ned pleading with King Robert. He sees Sansa crying herself to sleep, and he sees Arya like holding secrets deep in her heart. And over there, he also sees like this big shadow of a man with like an ashen black shadow who has the face of a hound. So I'm assuming that's Clegane. Then he sees another man who's clad in the armor like the sun, who I'm thinking is Jaime Lannister. And then I have no idea who this is. There's a man behind both of them who's bigger, and he has stone armor, and his face is just like black blood and swirls. Like, so I don't know. I guess there's someone bigger and meaner behind the Hound and Jamie. But then he sees, Caitlin in the boat, and he goes across the sea, and he's seeing the free cities, and then he's seeing, the green of the Dothrak Sea, which I don't know if that's the prairie and it's metaphorical or not. The prose gets very purple here. And then he sees Vase Dothrak under its mountain. So I guess Vase Dothrak is under a mountain. And it says, to the unknown lands and the Jade Sea, which I guess is like a mystical thing that they've mentioned before. And then he says all the way to Ashai next to the shadow. And I got kind of excited here, and I'm not sure if it's the purple prose or not, but he said where the dragons stirred under the sunset. And I noticed, I don't know if that's like the folklore of the shadow, like that dragons stirred under the sunset there, or if he actually saw dragons in the shadow. Because I'm hoping, because they said, like, there are no more dragons, but I'm hoping he just saw dragons. So, I'm like, give me dragons. Anyway, so his vision kind of pans, and it goes to John, who's, freezing in a little bed and forgetting what warmth feels like up at the wall, because he sees the entire wall, like, glittering. And then he goes north and north and north, and he just keeps going up north. And he sees the light curtain at the end of the world is what they said. I'm not sure what that is. And then it says he goes beyond the light curtain at the end of the world. And up there, that's where it's just white. And he looks directly into the heart of winter. And it doesn't say what he sees, but it says that it scares him, and he cries out, like he's like, and that's when the crow is like, see, that's why you have to live. And he's like, what? And he's like, winter is coming, the crow. And he's like, now's the time. You have to choose. You can fly or you can die. And he's seeing like these ice spikes coming up from the ground, and it's littered with like thousands of bodies of other dreamers that hit the ground and died. And he recalls a quote that I called out in the first chapter, but the part where Ned was talking with Bran, and he was like, is it possible to be brave and afraid at the same time? And Ned, is like, that's the only time you can be brave. And then Bran has a moment, and he just spreads his arms, and he's just like, all right, do it. And then, hold on, I'm going to reenact this for you. I know, it's huge budget. Hold on. And he's like, I'm flying, right? And he's going, and he's flying. He gets the updraft. He's going away from the ground, and he's like, I'm flying, and the crow is like, I noticed, but this crow kind of switches up on him, because as soon as he's flying, it flies up, and it's attacking his face, it's the wings are billowing against his face and stuff. Meanwhile, because Bran's like, I'm flying, oh, crow attack, right? And I don't have a crow or a bird, so I'm sorry. I was gonna reenact it, but it pecks him right there and just tears out a chunk, right? And it starts burning, right where his third eye would be, because it's important to note, he does notice when he's falling that the crow has a third eye, and the only description that's given is that it's full of terrible knowledge, So I guess the crow wants to open his third eye or something and rips the skin out. And as he does this, the crow turns into, like a lady. And the lady is standing there, and she just instantly drops her jug of water. Now, Bran realizes, like, he can't move his legs. He's super skinny. He's up in a cold tower in Winterfell. Like, he's not falling anymore. The lady is gone. Like, she drops it. She starts running. So, like, all he hears is like clomp, 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 clomp. He's away, clomp, 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 clomp. And then you hear like even more clumsy, heavy steps coming up the tower. Like, while this is happening, he feels that like telltale like, and looks, and there's just a big old wolf face, like right in his face, and it's his wolf, and he's like staring at him like, "You up?" He's like, "You gotta feed me, dude." No, I'm playing. But as soon as he sees he's awake, he starts licking all over his face and stuff, and the clomps are getting closer, just, and boom, there's Rob, and Rob's standing there, and he's just like, and all Bran says is like, his name is Summer, like, talking about the wolf, because apparently, staring into the heart of winter, Bran's just like, no more winter. Like, no, I roll with summer. So that was trippy, and a lot of it was kind of metaphorical. I think maybe he saw more, but only recognized like the people he kind of knew-ish. Whoever that stone armor guy was, though, I guess he's just menacing enough, like that he was noteworthy. It's kind of odd that he didn't pick up on Dany or Drogo or any of them, but I guess he wouldn't know. So, but that was chapter 17, Bran 3. I'm fairly positive. I am Tory Torrential. This is Tory Survives Game of Thrones. You are hopefully mildly amused. And, hold on. I'm going to give you one more flying Bran just to get it out of my system, because I like that it picked a propeller beanie and then he ends up flying. So he's like, I'm flying. Okay. And I'm flying out of here because I love you. All right. Thanks for watching my show. Like and subscribe.